So hello everyone. Thanks a lot for joining in this second session of very exciting virtual series which we are doing on commodities. So this is a teaser event for Grains World, a conference and expo which we would be having in Dubai in November. And before that, we wanted to connect some of the top leading expert and discuss about three key commodity baskets, pulses, which we did yesterday, which we got a very fabulous audience response. And it was really an event which created a lot of valuable, insightful content. Today, we are talking about grains, and tomorrow we'll be talking about, for sure, oilseed. And I would like to thank my esteemed speakers who are already there. We have got Mr. G.K. Sood, we have got Mr. Ajay Goyal, we have got Mr. RAJIV Yadav, and Garima Jain. So all of four of them, they don't need much of introduction. But Goyal Saab has been there in industry for a very long time, and he chairs the wheat producers association based out of Delhi. G.K. Sood Saab, again a legend in the industry. Garima ji is deputy CEO of LDC, and Rajiv Yadav ji, who's actually currently working with AgroCorp. Thanks a lot for all the panelists for joining. And before actually we start the panel discussion, I'll just run through a very small presentation on what we intend to do when we are talking about the grains world. And I know for some of those who have actually attended the session yesterday, it would be a little bit of repetition. But on that, with that caveat, I'll go ahead. So Grain World, actually, this is an event which is being organized by the Indian Chamber of Food and Agriculture, the only chamber focused on food and agriculture recognized by Government of India. It is a flagship event for GGPC, that is Global Grain and Pulses Council, and I happen to have opportunity of being the founding convener of that. And then we are having other partners, including Honeybee, International Grain Council, and this event is also an event in which there is a very keen participation by Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Department of Commerce, Government of India. And we are expecting a lot of senior officials and ministers joining us in Dubai. And the idea is to take Indian agriculture trade forward to the world, both inbound and outbound. Now, if we talk about objective, see, definitely they are listed some of the key objectives. In any event, we talk about networking, we talk about information exchange, we talk about discussion on policies, capacity building. But the key agenda, what we are doing is that the Grains World, we want to take Indian agriculture globally. We're starting with Dubai, but we'll be rotating this event in all the continents. So by the end of 5 years, you'll find that all the 5 key continents would be covered by this event. Both India is a big producer, importer, exporter of a lot of commodities, and we believe it is a time that actually India is projected in a proper new Indian light when we talk about the rest of the world. We are having some of the session. We might see some of the alteration in this session, but broadly, the agenda would be about policy trades. We'll be having discussions on pulses, cereals, oilseed, and veg oil, which are, you find that three key categories when we talk about pulses, cereals, and oilseed, which impact the Indian food basket. And then also, we will be having a dash of digital and biotechnology and sustainability and innovation. So based on all these, this is what we will be having very interesting discussions around. Target audience, definitely we talk about policymakers to commodity players, technology companies, service providers, infrastructure creators, and for sure organizations which are international organizations, like whether we talk about FAO, CGIAR, ICRISET. So all of them will also participate in good numbers. Some of the benefits, as we all see that in majority of the events, it's about knowledge exchange, networking, and also learning new things. So you can definitely look at more information about Grains World on our website, as well as you can contact me in case you are interested to attend. Now, without further ado, I would request my team, Neeraj, to please ensure that if we have the videos and audios of all our esteemed panelists for the wheat session be enabled. Can you do that, Neeraj? Excellent. So all the stalwarts are here, and pranam to my guru, Sood Saab. So thanks a lot for taking out time for attending session Ajay bhai, warm welcome. This is the first webinar you are attending from our side, and I am always a big fan of your blunt and straight opinions. Keep on seeing a lot of your video bites, and it's always pleasure to hear your straight from the heart talk, which is for the trade. That's very important part of it. Very few people I've found that in industry can actually have that courage to talk for the trade. Garima ji again a super expert with numbers, understanding of the uh, cereal landscape, right? Whether it's wheat or rice, she has been very expert. But today we'll take her services for understanding more about wheat. And again, she doesn't mince her word most of the time. Then we are having the ex-army man, always aggressive in his talk. Rajiv ji, welcome aboard. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. But I would put a caveat, maybe on the front he was too aggressive. In chats he is aggressive, but actually when you are face to face, he's a very soft person, soft spoken. Thanks a lot, Rajiv bhai, for joining us. So I'll just put a little bit of context before we get into discussion. So if we start with the international numbers, so actually when we talk about the production numbers being depending on which agency you talk about, we are looking at close to 784 to 790 million metric ton of production. But irrespective of any agency you pick up, global production there is a reduction of close to 5 to 8 million metric tons over the previous year. So globally, the wheat situation is a little bit tight, and one of the reason is that definitely India, actually our production numbers, again, which doctor you go to, the prescription is different. Government number are totally out of tune. Industry numbers again, the quotes are from all the way from 100 million metric ton going up to 112 million metric ton. Right. So my like a number which I have been quoting is that plus minus 2%, 100 billion metric ton. Similarly, when we talk about consumption, the global consumption has for sure increased, and that's why you'll find that actually the global stock has decreased by close to 6 million metric ton. Again, that number is close to 791. So we are seeing that less production, more consumption. Trade has also increased. That means there is more transaction happening in importing countries. With that as caveat, I would first like to go to you, Ajay ji, right? You are the trade voice and very strong trade voice. Sir, we have been talking about Indian numbers. One thing we all will agree that actually based on couple of points. One is that the procurement this time has been substantially lower than what the government has targeted. In fact, it is lowest in the except the 1 year. I think 2021, 22. Like it has been lowest in the 5 years. So that procurement has not happened. If you talk about the 1st July stock, you'll be surprised to know that actually it is lowest in the 5 years. And if we go even before that, right, you'll find except 1 year, like I think in 2018, it has been lowest in the past 15 years. So our 1st July stock has been very limited. And consumption, as our population is increasing and substantial population is wheat eating population. And then we are having new wheat product coming in the market, which are being which are very attractive for the consumer. So overall consumption number would be 2 to 3% increase of previous year at least. In this scenario, how do you see the things moving forward? Because even on the price front, at the harvest itself, we were 2 to 3 rupees above the previous year, and things have not changed even after this stock limit of 300,000 tons, for the large players. Your views, sir, and how do you see the outlook going forward for the wheat, sir? Sir, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes. Thank you, Deepak ji. Thank you so much for this invitation on this forum. And people who have their ears, nose, and eyes close to the ground have got the better sense of everything. And you will always notice that when local trade starts to get into stocking and they start predicting numbers where this, wheat price is going to be down the year, that means definitely they have a greater understanding than the macro numbers and the macro data that is dished out. And this I have noticed that this year, except for UP, Punjab, and Haryana, where we've had a very good output compared to previous years, the other years the output has been much lower than anticipated. And this gap of buffer requirement and production is widening, as you have said. In the past 15 years, now we have come almost we are every year touching the buffer and then getting into the procurement season. And this is an anomaly we have to correct, because psychologically markets are used to 10, 15, 20 million metric tons of additional stock as opening, and that gives us that feeling of plenty. And when the trader and everybody knows that the government doesn't have the firepower to bring down the markets, right now the markets where they are primarily out of fear. There is a lot of action that the government is expected to take for stock holding and things like that. Because of that, markets are still under a leash. But if it were totally free, this, I think the Indian farmer this year or the traders this year would have taken the price up by more than a rupee or two than what is prevailing currently. Because government is open to importing gold, and they keep reducing the duty or even on gold, which is not that essential. But there is this big political reason or allergy to allowing wheat imports. And then some people say that the Haryana elections is a factor. But I think it will be a lot of relief for everybody if government allowed in 5-7 million tons of wheat. That would be a very, very good step on behalf of the government. I do not know the reluctance why the government is not bringing the duty down on wheat, so that there is some buffer built in the country. So I think until the government takes a positive action wherein wheat supply is increased in the system, you will see this sort of volatility even next year if government doesn't replenish wheat stocks in some manner.
No, I totally agree with you, Ajay, but don't you think, we have been suffering for past 3 years now, right? This should have been maybe done 2 years back, or in fact, government would have been a little bit more benevolent, would have done 3 years back, because we are seeing this suffering year on year, year on year. And as you rightly said, we touch the buffer and go. God forbid if something goes wrong, right? We are living in a very different geopolitical condition today. What's happening on the, our eastern front, southern front, and even to some extent on the northern front, that always creates a possibility of geopolitical issue here, and without buffer it could be a challenge. Now I would like to understand from you, as the trade, right, who are the processors. I'm not talking about the traders who are into the speculation business, but how difficult it is for a procurement person, right? Because he doesn't know, in case government opens up, then there is a crash in the price, and then you don't want to be over leveraged there by buying sufficient stock. And at the same time, the availability stock is not there. Before this session, and since morning, I've been talking to a lot of people, and getting hold of even 3,000 ton of wheat today, right, which is the stock limit. It is next to impossible. I was roughly able to, I thought, I'm having good connection, but even getting 300 tons is a big challenge. How do the trade work in such scenarios?
So I'll just put it like this: two things. Number one, as you mentioned about 2 years. So 2 years ago, the government had ambitions of becoming a leading global wheat exporter, and suddenly we had to take this huge U-turn. And now for the government to import, and last year, of course, the big general election was in front of them, so they couldn't take any such action. But it is, I think, all these factors are behind us, and we should do that. And as far as wheat is concerned, as a processor, so until about 3-4 years ago, wheat would hardly move like 7% in the entire year, and the government was holding the band, and there was sufficient stock in the system, and so there was hardly any movement in wheat. Although it was the biggest crop in the country, the price movement was like 2% was a big thing. It could make headlines. But since past 5 to 7 years, we are noticing that the government is not able to, if not rightly put, control the prices, but have its full say in what the prices should be. And but one good thing about wheat is that it is grown in plenty, even in season. If you give a 1% higher price or 2% higher price, you can gather as much as you want. It is just that 1-2% sort of a business. The entire margin in the business is 1% or 2% for anybody dealing and trading. So I guess availability is not the problem in that sense, but at what price? Can you keep paying a higher price day in and day out for a processor? That's the bigger thing. And also, since the past few years, the user industry has consolidated in India. So you will see that the three biscuit manufacturers control almost 70% of the biscuit market in India, or the top 2 or 3 atta processors control 60-70% of the market. Same with bread or pizza, or you just name the thing. And they require price stability for their finished product. So the trade is moving into more long-term pricing. That is, the millers and processors are now creating longer hedges and bigger hedges to service their customers. So I would say, uh, unless somebody is getting into speculation of wheat, he normally covers, the processor would normally keep himself at least 60-70% covered in season. But there's an altogether different, big, huge spot market in wheat. And for them, so atta is almost wheat. It is almost 98%, 99% of wheat. So for them, as a processor, there's not much of a problem, because price hikes are taken at a quicker thing. But for a miller who is making maida, there's a time gap or time lag of almost a month for him before he can actually pass on the price hike. So it is a bit of a challenge currently for millers, definitely.
No, so actually, sir, you said pay a little bit higher price and you get the material. But if I give the same number to Rajiv ji or Garima ji, that 1% more, they'll have a literally heart attack. Their books would bleed. They have to do business for
availability is not the issue, but sellers want to keep pegging the price higher. So their foot is on the accelerator as far as wheat price is concerned. They feel ab ki baar 3,000 par.
Sir, मैं तो 3200 भी सुना है number.
Yeah, you can put your finger anywhere, place it 30-32, but there is a fear. You see, people want to hold back and get the best realization, but there's a fear. That's why the movement is not that great. Otherwise, normally in the past, you would have seen like 100 rupees up a day, 50 rupees a day, but now it is like really, really measured.
No, sir, there is one more interesting. If you see the chart, previous year and this year, right, there has been consistently gap of 2 rupees 50 paisa going as high as 3 rupees 15 paisa, right? So if we extrapolate that graph to the previous year's highest point, which was I think October, November, you find that actually we are talking about 3,000 par, and maybe if you go 3.251, that number, we are looking at 3,100, right?
So the sword of government of OMS is hanging, currently. And the government has said when everything bursts, we will come out with our OMSs. So it's in touching distance of 2,800 in Delhi today. So I guess in the next 1 rupee rise, the government's eyes might, open, and suddenly you could see some, OMSs being announced. So that's what's keeping the market in a bit of control.
So even if you say OMSs, if you see the government flexibility on that is also very limited, right? 19 to 20 million metric ton you will need for actually PDS schemes, right? I'm not even getting into other schemes by state, which state government also buy. Even if we believe that other states are not allowed and only central government plays that role. So with 19.5 to 20 million metric ton going there, they have maneuver of close to 6 to 7 million metric ton max. And that would, like I said, that it cannot run through all gas which is required.
बस सर एक बार उबलते दूध पे छीटा हो जाएगा, उसके बाद markets will redecide and take a rerun.
Right. No, I'll go to Garima ji. So Garima ji, very interesting perspective being shared by Ajay ji about the challenges of being a processor, right? And while availability is there, the prices are key factors. Madam, your perspective on on the overall global scenario, you see we are seeing challenge in India. In fact, Europe, we are seeing there could be a substantial reduction in the production, while the southern hemisphere is doing well, and even Canada, the report is coming that durum wheat is doing well. How do you see the overall global and Indian perspective, ma'am?
Thank you, Deepak ji. Firstly, thank you, Ajay sir, for the insightful discussion that we just had. But picking up from there, traders are not speculators. So that is the only thing I will put. We are supply chain partners, your supply chain partners. And to your specific question, I think globally situation is very comfortable. If we see Canada had good rains and there are no concerns today on how the crops are. Australia, we are doing very well. We know the cycle of the weather is changing, and we will head to a good crop as we see it so far. You are right on EU. There are certain concerns. There are certain concerns on France quality as well, but not from availability or supply perspective. And then all in all, Russia and Ukraine are doing quite well. They are literally feeding the world. So I would put it this way that globally, we don't see any big risk or flag today as far as the production is concerned. Coming to India's situation, I think number one point of discussion is, are we happy? Are we good with the buffer norms that the government has? The question is not how much over and above stocks with the government should be there, or in terms of the buffer norm. Because from the government eyes, they say that as long as we have stocks which are matching the buffer norms, we are good. So whether we should have over and above stocks is the question. With the current stocks that the government has, for example, as on July 1, we had 28 million tons of stock. With the kind of distribution plan that the government has, I think we are in a very comfortable situation as far as India is concerned. Not to forget that we have a very comfortable stock of rice, which is year on year, at least 7 to 8 million tons surplus. And we are also heading to a good crop of paddy, not less than maybe, let's say, around 136 million tons if we were to put a number today. So all in all, I feel that in India, it's a very comfortable situation before we even start to think about our connectivity with the global markets, because whether we need it or not is a question I think that we all have to try and answer. Do we need stocks above buffer norms? Is that a compulsion today? I mean, in my opinion, as we see it, we don't. And that's what we read it everywhere, that as a geography, we are very comfortable from an overall food grain stock perspective.
No, that is, I understand, like, see, buffer norms, I believe, like, government is totally messed up on that, right? These buffer norms were decades old, right? And those needs update. And we live in a very different geopolitical scenario today. And like, the world is very volatile. Like, unlike if you see that couple of years back, I would have been comfortable with that. But the current scenario, if you see that actually even the China, like, which is one of the, I'm saying, biggest emissary for India, how much food grains they are collecting, right? So if God forbid, like, we've seen Ukraine and Russia, now the wars are not like, wars which happens like, in 15 days. The wars get extended to 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And this is where actually, like, I believe, like, government of India should be looking at least 4 months or 5 months of like, total in consumption, and not just the government PDA system, the Indian consumption. The problem is that they always see with the, like, lens of what is being going out of the PDS. India consumes close to 100 billion metric tons of wheat, like, whether in food, feed, and industry. And I think, like, that the normal norm should have been like, at least 25 million metric ton. Even in rice, I think we are talking about 13.5, which is too low. But that is again my personal view. Like, government has its own way of thinking about it. Now, coming back to, like, when we say that the situation is pretty good in when we talk about Australia or when we talk about Canada, do you see, in case government opens up import, let's assume for a time being, like, open up the import, what would be the best time to, like, do that, so that we will be having, like, the best possible pricing coming from some of these economies, specifically Australia? I think Australia is the most convenient for us.
See, two things. We have to look at both availability and price. You are right that geopolitics are very uncertain today. But if I look at India, how much we will need, let's say, assumingly we will need 2, 3, maybe 4, 5 million tons. It is not a very big number for us, even geopolitically, from a supply perspective. I mean, if we were to plug in 2 or 3 million tons in India, that is not a very tall task compared to how we are placed globally in terms of wheat production. So, from availability standpoint, again, I feel it is not something that is really going to make a big dent in terms of what we need versus what the world has to offer. Second, to your point in terms of pricing or what should be the right time, I would say even today, if we see the imported parities into India versus the current domestic prices, I would say that the import spread today is very lucrative. You can buy cheaper wheat in India from other exporting geographies. And let's say, even if you're not ready today, we know that Australia crop comes in November and we are heading to a good crop. So we have time until December or even, let's say, January to figure out where the supplies can come, given a situation that import would have been open. Of course, we do see a disparity within the India market because the import connects only to South India or, let's say, to some extent to West India, and then there is a disparity in prices between North and South India, which is always, something that comes up in discussion as far as the processing industry is concerned.
No, because I think South, some of the centers, the price is already close to 30, right? So they would be better off like importing from Australia if government want to control the inflation, because inflation points are connected from all across India. It is just not Delhi prices. But maybe most of the bureaucrats sit in Delhi, if it pinches their pocket, they feel more hurt. Going to Rajiv ji, to you, sir, you have been active in the trading market for a long time, and your perspective on how do you see, because I think if I can recall well in our discussions on various groups, you still believe Atmanirbharta is better than actually importing. Your view, sir, in case I'm right.
Yes, sir. So firstly, I mean, just to pick up from where Ajay sir left and Garima left. As when you call us traders, we are abided by the rules forced onto us by Government of India. So if this 3,000 tons of stock limit is applicable, it is very much applicable to us also. So I can't hold an iota more than 3,000 tons, so that's a limiting factor for all of us, not only for the trading companies or anything of that kind. Point number two, globally, I would say initially you said there are concerns, there is a lower production. I would tend to agree more with Garima that the production, I mean, there is about a 10 million reduction coming in from Russia, about 3 million tons coming in from Ukraine, but all that is taken care of by a surplus of about 5 million tons in Australia, another 10 million tons in USA, and then Canada is also adding about 4 or 5 million tons. So overall basis, the global supplies, Chicago trading anywhere between 525 to 550 cents. That's the range which it has been trading around per bushel. So it is a comfortable level for the world, and there's not much of the concern in terms of supplies on the global front. Coming back to India, as Ajay said, today we are just short of Delhi touching 28 rupees. But to whatever extent we could sense from the government officials, they are still not too much worried or too much open to the idea of getting into the import side, because they feel that with the stock limit in place and with the at least about, when you say 6 to 7 million tons for OMSS, I would assume that number would be somewhere around 8.5 million tons, which would be available, because they are restricting themselves for PDS of not more than about 1.5, so which will take to them around 18. So finally, their target would be to avoid imports to the extent possible and try and close the stocks somewhere similar to the last year ending stocks. So that's one part. The other part is, as Garima rightly said, the surplus of rice sitting with them. They always have this liberty of pushing in more rice into rice eating states as compared to wheat, and then save on to wheat for more of the wheat consuming states. And also, I mean, now it's a given fact that the monsoon has been good all across the wheat growing areas as well. So I am assuming the farmers would head in for it. They've got a good prices, and they would head in for a big crop of Rabi. So that will also give them some additional comfort to the government. So I would say, though everybody wants the imports to be open, can be a solution for controlling the food inflation. But I mean, after yesterday's data only, it was a surprise to me that last year, same time, the atta inflation was at 12%, and now it is around 7%. So government come this way, that way, they have been able to tackle this inflation part. I would not like to get into how come these numbers were derived, but I'm just going by the numbers which were published yesterday. So they have been able to control. Whether it is the ego issue, or I would not get into that also, but practically, is it a too harsh compulsion? in terms of opening the imports, it doesn't look like a necessity to me as of now. But yes, I mean, that would have eased the availability of the grains would be my remarks.
Perfect. And sir, actually, how do you see the trade happening outside India as well? As if we are talking about India as a center, how do you see the impact of Bangladesh or Sri Lanka and Nepal, where the currencies are a challenge and these are actually wheat importing countries? Did you see any challenges there as well, or it's a all smooth there?
No, definitely. I mean, one of our vessels got placed in Dhaka yesterday. So whilst all the unrest and everything is going on, the operations have not got that much affected as of now in terms of the physical activities. In terms of the currency depreciating in these countries, probably that allows the exporters to send more into their country. So that's not a great concern to me. Yes, availability of a forex was a concern for countries like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka for some time in the past, but even that has got smoothened out to a large extent as of now.
One more question, actually, if you see the global stock availabilities, right? The last number which I could see was 258 million metric tons, up by 6 million metric ton from previous year. Do you think that could also be one of the challenge long term, pushing wheat in the extremely bearish mode? Because you're looking at more than 38% of global production being now stock available. So do you think that wheat is in a now perennial bullish phase? Oh, sorry, bearish phase?
See, globally, if you look at it, the commodities are on a bit of a, I would say, downtrend. If I look at the soya complex, even soybeans are also looking bearish. If I look at cotton, that is also looking bearish. If I look at the grain segment, it is also looking bearish. So, but is it extremely bearish? My answer would be no. But yes, for the time being, the commodities at the global level are at a downtrend, is what I would say.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Now I would like go to the Bhishma Pitama of the industry. Sir, you have, Sood Saab, you have understood from all the people different thought process, but at least all of us align on one thing, that the supply is little bit restricted in India, right? While we have different views on imports and how the things are going to roll out. And Rajiv Bhai has been very, I'll say that, considerate to the government, not commenting much on that, and especially on the inflation number. But I can stick my neck out and say that actually, if you see that wheat is currently 26% above the MSP, right? It is 18% above the previous year price. With that as a footnote, sir, your views on whatever we have discussed so far.
Well, thank you very much, Deepak. Basically, I'll begin with inflation. Inflation measurement is tricky. There is a base effect. So if last year there was a huge increase in price, this year that huge inflation, equal inflation, will be muted because you're talking of a high price of last year. So last year the price was not high. The same inflation, because like 22 the price was not so high. Last year it appeared very high. So these inflation numbers are scary. And that is why the Governor Reserve Bank noted he said a note of caution that is likely to spread into other regions like wage inflation, produced commodities inflation, which can destabilize the macro. So food inflation is dangerous. It's still high. Rice inflation is still 10% over last year's 19%. And having said that, the governments are political. They are not, there's a lot of intelligence in them, there's a lot of rationality, finally political. Somebody said in May of 22 that India will feed the world just after the Ukraine war, and we had to stop exports. Now that lasted, and then now there is a Haryana election. And you know how the cards are stacked. It is a bit dicey for the ruling party, dicey for everybody. So I don't think they will do anything to alienate the farmer there. So till the month of November, even if your balance sheet justifies, there will be no imports. Other remark here was of Deepak Bhai made a remark of lower stocks, lower production. Basically, if you see about 15 million tons of substitution of wheat with corn in the feed segment, your equation becomes totally different. That explains the bearishness. And so that is the other remark which we had. Third one is buffer stock. Back of the envelope calculation shows it should be 12.5 if you went by the stock use ratio of that year and this year. And the government is not yet woken up to that. If there is a hit, like it happened somewhere in 2004-5, when they drew down the buffer stock to 4.5 million, and we had to buy wheat at astronomical prices, we are running a risk. However, if suppose the next year's FCI closing stock is to be maintained at 7.5, we appear reasonably comfortable. Even if that consultancy commissioned by the Rural Flour Mills Association, they had estimated 106 crop, market down to 104 because their survey was a bit earlier. It was in February. Even at 104, because what they have done is, which has been mentioned in this discussion today, but not by numbers, 6 million tons of demand was destroyed last year when the PDS commitment was reduced from 24 to 18. And our friends in Arcus Research, they did a bit of survey and they found that most of the rice given the PDS free was eaten. So if in 2 years they have substituted 12 million tons, take it 10. Some rice might have been sold. So 10 million tons of demand destruction accounts for, you see, last year a marvelous webinar was hosted by Ajay, and that convinced everybody that there should be imports, and even now I'm convinced there should have been. But it was sorted out by reduction in PDS. This year, 6 million. So you have to reset your consumption number. Although consumption of wheat is going up, but now the plateau has been lowered by 5 million or 6 million tons. And so 104 is adequate to meet your demand. And mind you, if today the price in Delhi is higher by 250 rupees compared to last year, 150 is accounted for by increase in the levy price, MSP price. All of us, when we wear a different hat and show some sympathy for the farmer, we want him to be paid the MSP. And how does he get the MSP unless the consumer pays? Do you want the government to tax you and pay him and give you cheaper? That also is possible. That again comes and bites you. So 150. Other one is that last year, OMSS started much earlier. They had little more stock. This year they have 1.5 million less. So see the way they're working. Even today, there's no clarity. I checked up yesterday on the date on which they want to start. And their strategy is very simple. Carry the ammunition, talking in Major Rajiv Jadav's terms, for the last thrust. Just an hour before the ceasefire. You fire the whole lot. So they are preparing probably for November, December, January to increase the OMS numbers probably more than last year in those months. And our recommendation, of course, will be that a couple of million tons of imports will do no harm. It's easily available at reasonable prices, Australia as well as Ukraine, because if you see our mix of wheat which we normally import, it's not entirely Australia, it's a blend. And the blend is much cheaper. And that will relieve the whole situation. But probably they will cross the hump without imports. Risky it is, because if something happens next crop looks good. But as Deepak Bhai, you pointed out yesterday in a message, the sowing area for Kharif is not so remarkably high as compared to 5-year average. It may be substantially higher than El Nino year, of course. And suppose something happens to wheat, in spite of high prices, suppose you get a weather event in February, March. I don't agree that more than 15-20% of Punjab, Haryana is under weather-resistant varieties. Although government says 80%. If you just do the seed multiplication exercise, the year of release of the variety, and if you had only used it only for multiplication, not for consumption, you don't get nowhere near there. And so we are definitely exposed to weather. There could be weather event, and you are running a risk by drawing it down to 7.5 when it should be 12.5 buffer stock on 1st April. And well, I will therefore unable to. In fact, it was basically Garima and Major RAJIV Yadav's suggestion. I mean, they said that government will do without imports, but they don't mind imports. They'll relieve the situation a bit and make us a bit more comfortable and be prepared for any event. Deepak ji, you mentioned China. They have 85% stock use ratio. I mean, they're astounding. I don't think we should have that much, but we get nervous if we have about 20-25 million tons on 1st April. So.
No, sir, I totally agree with you. And this is where actually definitely the challenge rises into where the confusion of the government, like, this is, everything is so short term, right? We ourselves, we are not able to make up the minds. For example, like, this 3,000 metric ton of stock limit. So it is actually definitely detrimental to any type of business, right? Now, why would we talk about capital formation in agriculture is lowest in, like, past 4 decades? It is lowest because actually if I want to put a mill to, for example, make biscuits, right, I would be very scared because I don't know actually what is the sustainability of getting me the raw material. And that's why you are not finding that actually the capital formation in agriculture or the food sector is happening to the level where it should be government comfortable. So your views, like, these fickle policies, I'm saying that worst policy also gives up for at least 2 years.
And another problem is that now with sophistication in wheat consumption, varieties are being recognized, which are premium varieties. And in this stock limit business and supply chain broken, when lorries were not allowed to move from one area to another, how do you cope with the changing consumer needs? Is the government for the consumer or for themselves? I mean, they have been really very obstinate in not letting the situation ease a bit, let the markets function. If suppose with 104 million tons production, the markets function, I have no complaint. They have interfered tremendously with the markets.
Yes, sir. Actually, in fact, far more than actually what you or anyone would be comfortable with. I'm saying government should interfere in the market for sure, regulating it. But it seems like, government is playing role of a speculator. Government is playing role of rumor mongers, right? So every time you talk, like, you are having some half information coming, right? That is khol sakte hain. In fact, even like, you see the official text of the speeches or like, the press release of the government, right? We are having sufficient stock, but we are putting stock limit, right? Now these type of ambiguities, right, that creates unnecessary, I believe, like, and that is the government should be very careful about what message they are giving to rest of the world while trading in India. Again, going back to you, Garima ji, you also delve a little bit on like, multiple commodities. Very recently, like, in fact, a day back, we have heard that actually we want to put now ethanol also in diesel. Now, for a country which is groping with, like, getting sufficient grains, right, and with that challenge in hand, how do you see, like, such thing impacting the markets or the psyche of the market?
I will build it on from what Sood sir has just said. Now, what is ethanol? Ethanol is processing. So, first of all, in the long term, it's very detrimental when the policies are a bit more reactive or they are suited for the short term requirements of let's say 1 year or 2 year. And therefore, like you said, the capital or long term investment does not come into the sector, which is in long term really not feasible for a country like us. In fact, the government has been, as we see it, very supportive on the ethanol. The capacities are being built. We do see that government is able to meet its blending targets also and have a huge focus on that. And from that, I think we have to include corn also into the equation. So now we have corn, wheat, and rice. Food grain being very sensitive, let's say wheat and rice, we see that like everybody's mentioning, the government keeps a radar eye on all these commodities. Whereas on corn, whilst we do see that the corn balance sheet has really begun to show the tightness, on one side, we do see acreages going up of corn. At the same time, the demand is really pulling the trigger and surpassing the supplies. In all these, all the three commodities, what is really important is that as a country, are we really investing on long-term solutions? Are we investing on seeds? And Sood sir rightly said that we talk about heat-resistant or drought-resistant seeds, varieties, but today they are only cornered in one part of the country. We have not even reached pan-India scale. If we look at corn acreages and yield, acreage is a job of the market. Farmers are doing what they can and they're doing a fantastic job. Are we as a country really investing into better yield varieties or seeds? And that doesn't happen in 1 year or 2 years. So we really have to see how the situation pans out from a 5-year perspective or a 10-year perspective, and long-term from processing point of view. Even for ethanol, one of the key ingredients is broken rice. Now, rice you can put either on a food grain situation or on an ethanol requirement. Both cannot match. So to me, I feel that we will be as a country able to solve the balance sheet or maintain it maybe for a year or two. But if I look 5-year or 10-year perspective, as a geography, how we are placed, food becoming a choice, the country has very supportive macroeconomic factors. The country is bound to grow. All of us see very small changes happening around us, how people are exercising their choice, especially on food. When you have better incomes, the first thing you really like to take care is your food requirements and your family food requirements. And therefore, from long-term perspective, I agree that we are today not equipped well as a country, not even from research perspective, not from investment perspective, to solve the balance sheet or equation that we see on all the commodities put together.
Fair enough. I'll go to Rajiv ji. Rajiv ji, your perspective, this whole debate on, food and fuel, where to go, what to do about it, where actually, we are dependent on the one side, that we need to provide more rice to wheat-eating people, right? Which I'll again go to Ajay ji to understand how feasible and how long term it could be, right? But at the same time, do you see that this could be lead to a lot of more challenges? Because you see that in sugarcane we tried, because to get farmers more money and make factories more viable, right? We wanted sugar to, then actually we found that sugar prices go up. Then we say no syrup, no molasses. Now we are doing with the maize, then the rice. But eventually, everybody would be confused, किसका तेल निकालें और किसको खाएं.
So I would like to start by saying that today there are too many crops chasing for limited acreages which are available in India, right? So with that as a starting point, we also need to look that 70 to 75% of the corn which comes is in the Kharif crop. And that is the same time when sugarcane also comes in. So basically, firstly, these two become the competing crops. If there is a ethanol factory plus a sugar factory, then the farmer is confused that I need to see which one gives me more realization. I will grow only that belt and the other crop will not grow. So there is an in-house fight which starts between the two. For us to be able to fulfill this aspiration of 20% ethanol blending, probably the need would be to increase our yield from 2.5 tons per hectare of maize to probably about 5 tons, but which is a far-fetched story as of now, if I have to spread it out on pan-India basis. Then the other fallout is, if there is a too much of pull for corn, then you have a starch industry which suffers. Then you have the poultry industry which suffers. Now, from where do they get their basic 70 to 80, or maybe for a starch guy, 100% of their requirement of corn? So it becomes a very challenging within the existing, probably, let's say poultry has been a very longly established business. Sugar has been a long established business. Starch has been. So then are we putting all these established businesses into a bit of a trouble by bringing more of a con into fuel. So probably for me, I would say for a country which is, I would say, still far away from being called developed. I don't know, 1947 or when are we going to reach that, 2047. But for us, I would say food remains first priority and fuel should be the second. I mean, if I have to make fuel and if I have to make fuel and save forex on the crude oil, but at the same time, I might end up spending that same forex in importing corn. So I don't see much on a long-term basis this to survive.
Very, very, very articulately placed, right? End of the day, dollar is dollar, whether it's spent on corn or oil. Better to do it on oil, then you remove a lot of unnecessary challenges. Again, talking about the MSP, Susan has made it a very pertinent point that if you every year increase MSP for obvious reason to give more money to farmer, we all want more money to farmer, but eventually consumer has to pay for it. Now we are seeing that again there is election season, 3 states going to election, and then the RABI MSPs would be declared. Now, assuming that again we see rises increase in, for example, wheat MSP further. Do you see that actually the price will copy that, and again with next year we'll be seeing a little bit of more challenge because of that?
My take on that part is with the year-on-year increase in the MSP, which is the current aspiration of the government, and it is following into that direction rightfully. But at the same time, the government bureaucrats' mindset is also getting changed that for a country where the cash in hand income of the people are increasing, they are okay to bite a little bit of inflation is the sense which I get. Now, to what extent, whether it is on one-on-one ratio as compared to the increase in the MSP versus the inflation, but as compared to past, probably relatively today they are okay to bite a little bit of inflation on any side in collaboration with the MSP increase.
Perfect. Coming back to you, Ajay ji, do you see that this every year increasing MSP, but at the same time believing that consumers should not be charged more, all these type of things eventually is gonna be futile, because then we are trying to make an equation which I don't think mathematically is possible. So you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, so I have noted in the past few years that, the government has and the opposition both have always said that the farmers' income should be doubled. And it's been almost a decade since I have seen any rally on the, local assembly house or anywhere. Inflation rallies, I have not seen anywhere, any political party or any groups. It's only newspapers and media talking about it. The people seem to take it into their destiny, it seems like to me, because I don't see that kind of consumer protest anywhere any longer, especially when, wheat prices are going up. And until about 5 years ago, if the markets went up by 4-5%, the local minister in the state would summon us and find out what's happening, why is it happening. But nowadays, I don't see those antennas up anywhere, honestly speaking. And with the processing industry, especially the finished goods industry like bread, biscuit, all having free open pricing, and they can fix their price as per the price of, say, flour, fat, or sugar, or the recipe. We don't see those things. Of course, it is of economic interest, political interest, the data that is dished out. But on the ground level, there is not much of a hue and cry which I see from the consumer end. And the government always says that the weak and downtrodden and the people who cannot afford it, the government is taking care of them. So we have this sort of a parallel economy going on, wherein private trade is allowed to sell flour at whatever price, and biscuit manufacturers or bread manufacturers can sell at whatever price, and the consumer is not protesting. He has a choice. He can buy whatever he wants, whatever is affordable. And then you have the RBI data and all this data where the media and the news people are, worried about the thing. So I don't see any activism on behalf of the consumer any longer, is what I mean to say.
Sir, because consumer is actually the poor is taken care of, rich doesn't care, and middle class is too busy in filing their tax returns, which is so complex now. So there is no activism or energy
No, but
left to be activist.
honestly, until 5 years ago, if wheat prices would go up or atta prices would go up, if it would come in the evening news or the daily news anywhere, definitely the local minister would summon the millers and a few wheat traders and say, what's happening? There was a lot of concern. But since 5 years, I don't see anybody rather, if when we go to them that wheat is not available, they said, is it my responsibility to give it to you? Then I can do something. That is the sort of scenario I see currently.
No, sir, we are happy clapping increased GST, so it's fine. Inflation doesn't bothers us. So one more question, connecting on that. Do you see real investment happening on the processing part, or do you think that investment is stuck because of, see, we have had a good discussion, right? Very in a light manner, right? Questioning, being a little bit critical as well as appreciating moment wherever it was due. But at the same time, the sentiments of investors eventually drives an economy. Right. So if I per se say a wheat economy is just not about farmers, it is just not about consumer. It is about also the investment in the processing, investment in making things more efficient. And in fact, we had a discussion last time at summit that we have gone pretty far when it comes to reducing the waste. But do you see now on the ground real innovation, real expansions are happening where people want to invest more?
So I think there is a new set of investors, what you can call them as MNCs or the big daddies or the big boys. And definitely I see two things happening. I see more consolidation happening, bigger capacities being created at site rather than we started off with 30 ton, 100 ton, but now 250 tons. And very soon, I think you will have 400, 500 ton per day mills at site. So definitely the new investment is coming in some format in larger capacities, more automation. But the SME segment or whichever segment you can call them, the mid segment, that is slowly disappearing away. And this is what I used to hear 2 decades ago, that there'll be a huge consolidation. And I think now the consolidation is happening on our user part. So you see larger biscuit and bread factories coming up who have larger requirements, and next to them you will have bigger capacity, single location, bigger capacities coming up. So this is a different sort of thing, but unfortunately no fresh investment is coming in the logistic, transportation and storage of wheat. We still are carrying on with the age-old method of bagging them in jute bags and then putting them in trucks and unloading in a warehouse and then loading in a truck and then loading in a wagon and then so, this whole, until we have real bulk movement from end to end, I would not say that, we will get in real efficiencies.
Sir, any parting message to the government or in case somebody, because थोड़ा वो मेरे पे नजर तो रखते हैं क्योंकि मैं टेढ़ी मेढ़ी बातें करता रहता हूँ. So any message from you you would like government to hit for?
No, so definitely I think we are not converging on one point as far as the government and the millers are concerned, that there is a scarcity of wheat. It is tough to keep procuring wheat for operations, and there are few sellers, and the government should increase supplies into the domestic market. Either they come out with their OMSS at the soonest, or, as everybody's been asking for the past 17, 18 months, decrease the duty from 30 to 0. So I think that's a single point that will make all the difference for the next 7-8 months.
Perfect. Sood sir, so last word to you, sir. We would like to, you have seen the commentary from all of us, different views, specifically on, the feed to fuel debate. That is one part of it. MSP debate, where actually, we keep on increasing MSP. I'm all for increasing MSP, but I believe that burden should not be on the middle class. Burden should be on the government if they want to take that hit. Take it, as you rightly said, it would be tax, but it would be tax not only middle class, it would be tax on the higher class also. So your views on these different aspects, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, if you look globally, countries have gone for biofuel by using such inputs as are available in plenty. So biodiesel in Indonesia, 47 million tons production of palm, 14 million used in biodiesel. Ethanol in the US, 135 million tons used for ethanol, out of 340 or 335 corn. And go to any situation. You may have imported ethanol, but you don't import raw material to convert into ethanol. Well, I have yet to find a country which has used even a grain of rice for pure ethanol. We have used it for potable alcohol. So our policies need to be realigned. We have too much of enthusiasm, too much of bluster going around. Day before yesterday, a very senior minister in a video message in a conference in Delhi said that we are world leaders in 2G ethanol. Believe me, not even a drop of 2G ethanol has been produced till today, commercially. Experimentally, little bit, 900 crores invested 2 years ago is lying idle in Panipat. So, and we have too many yes men in the government. ICAR is saying, I can double corn production in 2 years. Look at Tamil Nadu, it has 7 tons. Look at this. So I'm saying, why do you look at Tamil Nadu? Why not look at US and say I'll double in 2 years? So the problem is not many people within the government are willing to tell the truth. They just abide by whatever somebody is saying. We are going along a very costly path. This year we are importing corn. We have exported some corn. We'll import the same amount. Next year, even if the corn production is higher, the target for ethanol is 5 billion liters from corn. Broken rice, if you export it, you get $500. If you import equivalent ethanol, you spend $300. So what is more sensible? You began by using broken rice for ethanol to save foreign exchange. And you ended up going foreign exchange negative. Save your environment, import the ethanol. Why convert the rice? And so, so that is my comment about ethanol. The sugarcane is admirable. Because of the FRP introduced in 2009, sugarcane is on a growth trajectory which you just can't reduce. It is the best paying crop in the country. And there were surpluses, we can't export without subsidy. So it's going to ethanol. It's a fine balance. Anything else, we should be very careful. And on MSP, it's fine. Doubling farmer income or meeting his cost, why not? When other people, other segments are able to claim their cost. The bread prices go up, as Ajay said, and everything we pay. Grammage goes down. And but then are we looking at research and development to increase productivity? Why should we not make 7 tons of corn? Or why not 3 tons of soybean, where we are doing about 88? What is being done? The research and development budget of the government is pathetically low. Pathetically is the word. And so there's no seriousness to increase that. The way to go to increase productivity, not MSP. But so long as we are going along, it will go to a point of tolerance. Because everything has a flexibility. So you go on increasing this, go on increasing inflation, and will upset your country, upset your macro, because there may not be a street protest on inflation any longer, but there is a protest from the mid street that you are upsetting the macro. Rupee will weaken, interest rates will go up, country rating will go down, investments will reduce. All that will happen if the inflation is relentless. And what was the third point, Deepak?
So third point was about the investment and private capital formation.
Yeah, that is robust. Sector. Look at the stock market. That's an index of what is happening on investment side. In spite of all the, ultimately, where is that money going? That money is going to investment and translates into profits, capacities, and so on and so forth. And
okay. So one more question to you, in continuation of what we are talking about, you very rightly, aptly put it, that the government is being run by yes men. But eventually, don't you feel that actually whatever we are doing with the high inflation, but I always agree that it pinches everyone. But with that, like, the stream will be taken out of the actual GDP growth, because end of the day you subtract, like, inflation. So with even if we say 7%, 8%, 9%, right? Until unless you don't manage inflation, you have to put more gas for reaching the same milestone.
Absolutely. You have to deploy even more resources. This year, the food subsidy is 250,000 crores. It's not a small amount of money. Increase the inflation, the subsidy will go up, because and we have the unemployment numbers coming out of the private sector researchers like CMIE or other such institutions. They are astoundingly high. The about 80% of our countrymen are earning less than 20,000 rupees a month, and just try to see the food component in their budget. That's how the inflation must be hurting them. And of course, mobile phone is important for them. They will recharge every month 500 rupees.
सर अब तो उसका भी प्राइस बढ़ा दिया ना इस बार आफ्टर इलेक्शन तो Garima ji, to you, like, your outlook going forward on wheat. And also there is a question by one of our friends who is attending. Mohanji is asking, like, what are the landed CNF Tuticon price for Ukrainian Russian being quoted for November shipment? In case you want to answer it, that is fine. Generally, I want to avoid such thing, but if you have answer, please feel free, because Narangi is a good friend.
So I will just give an indication of the market. Call values, the world prices or Black Sea wheat into India is still in the range of 265, 270 CIF for Tuticorin. And as relayed earlier, there are good amount of supplies available. Of course, today we are under a duty structure. So that's why I said that the import spread looks very supportive, looks very lucrative. Subject to, of course, what the government thinks about it, and whether at all we need to be under a panic to really import wheat or not is a different question altogether. But long-term outlook is almost like a summary of what everybody said. We need to really invest into R&D. We really need to look at climate-resistant varieties and have sustainability at the heart of it. Most of the companies are already putting in a lot of efforts around it. We need to revive and support our processing industry, because that's a long-term vision. And again, food policy is not something that you make for 1 or 2 years. We should have at least 5-year, 10-year down the line plan on what we want to do. Still today, when we talk amongst each other, we all guess when the OMS's supplies will come into the market or when the tenders will come. It should not be a guess game for everybody, which is why the markets tend to react. So a long-term food policy is going to help everybody. And, let's all be very constructive in our approach, because we cannot gamble with a food for a population of 1.4 billion population, which is going to only increase. And people want to have a nutritious and a better food palette every day in their everyday routine. So that's what I think, that we have to look at it not from political reasons, but from an overall perspective, in a very matured manner, how everybody can come together and give a boost to the entire trade industry and processing industry. And, I will just repeat, let it be a free market. Let people operate freely, and I think solutions will come, and people will be able to arrive with better solutions as we go on to solve the entire situation.
Excellent advice, Garima ji. Very well articulated, right? This is, I believe, the gist of whatever we have talked. We have summarized it so well. Thanks for that. And Mohan Narang ji, actually, like, if government is good enough to bring down the duty to 25%, you can make money. Otherwise, you cannot. Going to RAJIV ji, your parting words, sir. Like, how do you see, like, going forward, the outlook of wheat, domestic, international, and do you have any advice to our good friend, Mr. Narang?
No, we can all wait for the government policies to happen. if let's say, assuming if it is a zero duty, the Black Sea is wheat is about $50 a ton cheaper as compared to what it is being costing from the domestic markets to South. And even if it is at 15% duty, you are still cheaper by about $7-8. So the fact of the matter remains, if you purely go by economics, today, probably the transportation cost from north to south would be far more expensive as compared to getting a wheat from either Black Sea or from Australia. Australia may be relatively lesser in terms of your dollar savings. But I mean, going forward, it is purely in the hands of the government. Looking at the advantage of the low prices, probably government can rethink about this importing, because this could be one of the best timings for imports. Now, if you open it today, it comes during the sowing period, which again harms the farmers' feelings, the prices, the sentiments. So they have to figure out what could be the best period for opening or reducing the duty in case they decide to. Otherwise, today, the way it looks like, they will be pushing the imports away to the extent possible. That's how I look at things. In terms of the price, probably they would not allow the prices to cross beyond 29 rupees in terms of Delhi prices, or maybe around 30, but then they will chip in far more with the higher throwing up of OMS's volumes into the market.
Thanks a lot, Rajiv ji. Really appreciate. So thanks a lot for my awesome panelists, Ajay ji, Garima ji, Rajiv ji, Sood saab. Parting note would be, I would always believe that let's be comfortable, right? Why to rush with so many things, so much stress to all the bureaucrats? Import 6-7 million metric tons, keep it with you, right? Otherwise, you are giving stress and anxiety to everyone in the market. And OMSs definitely can reduce the price, but government should be very careful what happens in October, because it's still 3 months. So God bless them, and I believe all my panelists were of a similar view that at least there is some shortage, but some believe that import is we can do without import. Some said we should do with import. But at the same time, I believe all had their great inputs. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate all of you being here, sir and madam.
Thank you.
So now we go to the next panel. Interesting panel we'll be having on rice. And rice is another commodity which is being making a lot of noise for very simple reason that there is on wheat we have been talking about imports. On rice we have been getting challenged for exports because we are having too much of it, right? Government sitting with close to 50 million metric tons in their buffers with buffer limit at 13.5. That's a challenge, and the next Kharif season they'll be again buying another 50 million metric ton, and this could lead to a little bit of challenge going forward, even for the storage, because if government is having sufficient storage or not, and that could be one of the area to think and discuss about. And again, I'm having an awesome panel joining me. I'm having Nitin ji, Dilip ji, Nitin ji from Olam, Dilip ji from Reliance, two very critical players who have widespread understanding of the market. And I would also be joined by Mr. Paharia and Mr. Prem. Mr. Prem is actually he heads the Indian Rice Export Association. And Rajesh ji is actually with crypto, and a guy who has pretty keen or very intelligent insights about how government works, specifically when we have seen some of the challenges in rice and how the government is exporting that. We would request Mohanty ji, if you wanted to give a presentation, we would request you, you have made some supply demand presentation, which has come very well. I would request you if you can do the presentation, sir, to set the tone.
Can you just show that? Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for the lovely introduction, as always, Deepak ji.
Sure, I'll do that, sir. You have to just give me a second there.
So you want me to do it?
Sir, actually, I have to download it because I've seen on my mobile. I've not done it on my desktop. So if you are having handy, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll do that.
Let me check. Yeah. Is it visible?
Not so far. Yeah, now it is coming.
So, good evening, everyone, and thank you very much, Deepak ji, for the nice introduction as always. We really enjoy hearing the same. And we are now talking about the biggest commodity in India. This is our staple diet called rice. It is always in excess of 135 million tons at the moment. And as far as international trade is concerned, India's share is close to 40% at the moment. Is it visible properly?
Sir, if you can do it full screen. Yeah, now this is better.
Yeah,
sir.
yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. So I've converted to the one is non-basmati premium rice and basmati rice I'm talking about. So I've just compared what has happened last year and how the situation this year in 24-25. As far as last year is concerned, the kharif crop was slightly bad. There is a drop in production about 10%, both in western part of India, southern part of India, as well as eastern part of India. But as far as basmati is concerned, primarily it is concentrated in Haryana, Punjab. That part, the monsoon was good. There is a 10% excess. If you compare that to this year, the monsoon has been excellent. The rough figures indicate the non-basmati area has gone up by 10%. Again, basmati has gone to 10 to 12% more. So a rough indication what has happened last year. We had a good crop. Prices opened slightly at a higher price. As far as basmati is concerned, I think government pegged the MEP, which was $1,200. So we are completely outpriced. After that, government moved it to $950, which has been continuing. Still at $950, we are not very much comfortable. Recently, I think a lot of good demand has come. Otherwise, Pakistan used to be very competitive. We had a lot of Red Sea and container freight issues. All that dented our basmati rice. So we are holding around 15 carryover stock of 15% basmati rice now. As far as non-basmati is concerned, crop was slightly bad. Export was good, so prices were moving, running away. So government had no option but to ban the export of raw rice, and they have put a duty of 20% of the parboiled rice. So this is what the situation has been. So let's look at what is the demand and supply as far as total India as a whole is concerned. Last year we started with 35 million tons comfortable position. Production was equally good, around 31, 35. As far as export is concerned, certainly slightly gone down because of the government restriction from 20 to 60 million tons. And as far as consumption requirement is concerned, they're slightly going up because of the increase in population. Some export is going and rice is getting distributed through government schemes. All put together, our demand is around 135, 34 million tons. And meeting all our requirement, we have a comfortable position, 37 million tons of the surplus at the moment. So at the moment, how the basmati some arrival have started, the sati jisko bolte hain, the early arrival 60 days arrival started. Just I thought I'll give at a different price point. What are the basmati that is coming? How does this look this year? The premium basmati 121, that's the biryani rice we talk about. That's the highest price point in the area. There the production is down 10% this time. The area is down by 10%. That is taken over by 1509. 15 is a slightly low price product, but the farmer gets a very good yield here. So that this thing has gone up 20%. Then 1401 and 1708, that is price point normally between 65 to 75. These are more or less the same, and 1718 is down 5%. And if you look at PR, I think this is the price range could be 40 to 45. This time down by 2% looks like, because of the ban on the exports. So that is how the basmati is looking at the moment. The another thing I'll say, the 1509 arrivals have started. If I see the paddy prices during this point of time, the early arrivals are 32 rupees. Now it is operating at 27 rupees. It's a clear loss to the farmers at this moment. And the paddy market is 5 rupees cheaper as compared to the last year. This to be noted. As far as non-basmati is concerned, I've taken this year's figure. The raw figures indicate in the west side, the area has gone up by almost by 15 to 20% because the prices have gone quite a lot. So a lot of people gone from to area under this has gone up. As far as south is concerned, the crop was very bad last year because of the paucity of monsoon. This time there also the area has gone up by 6 to 8%. So how was the last year price point? How we look at this year, considering the what kind of swing and what kind of this thing we're looking at the moment. If you look at the western part of India and Gujarat, last time it's the early crop that comes in Gujarat. Just after Diwali, we start buying from there. So initially the price is 48 rupees. The peak price we have since 16. Now it is hovering at 60, 61. The way the crop is, next crop also, next opening price will be come at the same range of 49.50. That is what is our hunch. As far as Nagpur is concerned, this crop is 20 to 25 late as compared to Gujarat. By the time Nagpur arrival started, the Gujarat prices had gone up. So Nagpur or Maharashtra, Gadchiroli, that started 56. So that also gone to 60 to 62 at the moment. So that also, I think, as compared to last year, the crop is good. So it should open between 50 to 52. At the southern part of India, Sona Masuri is concerned, I think prices opened way too high at 46 rupees and went up to 52. But this time the crop is good. So the prices there, we expect the opening price could be 42 to 43. And this time the crop is huge. We see though not much of an upside as far as price is concerned. One has to be careful. The upper side could be 4 to 5 rupees maximum. The way you have seen 10 to 12 rupees increase last year. So one has to trade carefully. Then we coming to the PTS and common variety. There's an export ban already on the raw rice at 20% duty, all of us know. Now government has also reduced buying of that because there's huge stock and government is also buying. And this time looks like the crop is slightly short. It could be in between 22 to 5% short. I've taken one place, Chhattisgarh. Last year, the opening price was 28 rupees. The export that point of time was very good. The brick price was 35. After the ban, the prices have come to 31 rupees. And this time, the price opening price could be 29, 30 rupees. If there is no export allowed, the prices could go down by 1 rupee. And if they allow export, depending upon with duty, without duty, so with the maximum 2 to 3 rupees, it could go up. So what is generally the outlook as far as rice as it is concerned? We are sitting comfortably with more than almost like 48 million tons, which is about 20 to 20% higher compared to what we had last year. Bharat rice, I think that is making a dent in the market. Last year, when the price was going up, government was given 29 rupees. This time also they may continue Bharat rice. That's how the news is coming because election in 3 to 4 states and crop looks huge. And farmers have started suffering now. So I think they have to, plus FCI is planning to auction at PDS rice at 28 rupees because they have to clear the go down so that because you got another huge crop is just coming up. And they have recently increased the MSPs. And government might allow raw right export. Some people are saying government will do $100 duty. Some say 90. Some people are saying it could be with a zero duty considering the excess stock we have. And as far as my price look is concerned, the premium rice already has gone to 60 to 61 rupees. The Vada column, I'm talking about southern part of India. 15 days back, I was thinking the price will go to another 4 to 5 rupees. But the way the monsoon is there, the sentiment is slightly low, it could go by another 1 to 2 rupees. That is what is my hunch. As far as common rice is concerned, if they allow export, then only the prices will going to go up. Otherwise, this could go down by another 1 rupee. And Basmati, we have sitting with 15% excess stock now, carryover stock. This year crop is 10% more. Considering all that looks like before the arrival, the market could go down by another to 4 to 5 rupees. That is what is my hunch. This is the outlook. Over to you, Deepakji.
Thanks a lot, Dilip ji. Excellent presentation as usual. If you can stop sharing the screen, that would enable us to have all the panelists visible.
Oh, it's not going. Stop here. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot. So we would also like to welcome Dr. Prem Garg, who has been championing the cause of exports and the trade and ensuring that all of us get a fair position. Sir, I over straight away to you, Dilip ji saying that everything is comfortable, there is availability, the prices are going to be range bound, but I don't think why government is having so much of apprehension not allowing exports. Sir, your initial views and comments on that, sir. सर आपको अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा So in the meantime, Rajesh, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, Deepak, can you repeat the question, please?
See, we are seeing that there is a sufficient availability, right? Government is sitting with so much of stock that for them to liquidate it is a challenge, right? At the same time, we are seeing that we are losing out on international market by not exporting, right? Our competitors are taking that place. So why this is happening? Why government is so reluctant to export in your view?
See, parboiled rice, which was under OGL, the quantum has increased dramatically because a lot of the white rice buyers who were buying white rice earlier have shifted their consumption to parboiled rice. And a lot of market where we used to sell 5% broken, now even 10% broken parboiled rice has been imported by them. Like from the scenario of the government, it is very easy and very simple. On the basis of one particular thing, food security, government of India can issue a notification, ban is being imposed. But now to get it revoked, it becomes a tedious job to get it revoked and make it normal. So we all know the problem is not the rice, the problem is other grain, which is wheat and rice combined together. So issue is with wheat. The effect is coming on rice. We have seen the prices of wheat has gone up. Parallelly, the rice market, rice prices in domestic market has decreased. But unfortunately, because of the S&D number and the buffer number, to take a call to revoke the ban, it is becoming difficult for them to take a decision. For no doubt, duty is a gain for India, and they will continue taking the duty. Be it what Dilip bhai has said in the presentation, that $90 or $100. White rice exports, even if it will be open, it will be with the duty, because that's a benefit which is going to government of India, and that's a market gap which we are getting it filled. Prem, you are on the line, please.
Okay, thank you very much for everyone. I think there is some issue because of that we are not came earlier. So from my side, I say this right now, this government is talking about 18 million ton excess stock with government, and they like to dispose of. But right now, once they taken 2 steps right now, they already prepared the policy for Bharat Rice, but right now this SOP is not finalized and implementation is not started. Second thing, they already started for selling of open rice at the rate of 28 rupees, but last week also they done. Out of that, if you see in this what price this rice is sold, that rice is sold about 31 rupees 80 paisa to 32 rupees, and some lot is sold in Punjab, even some area 32 rupees 50 paisa. So, and right now they again came up about 1 lakh, about 50,000 ton. This for 14 of August, again tomorrow is the tender for this open rice, open sales for white rice and white rice right now. So right now there is the policy is not very clear, and there is, I seen as per my knowledge, best of my knowledge, this a file is movement is going on in the government. Where the recommendation is gone for $95 per metric ton fixed duty on export, and opening of the white rice also movement is there in the government somewhere. So I seen that file, but I cannot disclose on this platform. This already going on, and maybe by next week, anytime we can hear some news from the government about opening of the white rice. And duty must be there because they're enjoying the duty, and $95 if they fix the duty, that is the good for the trade. This is the scenario right now, because we are definitely on the excess stocks of rice, and new crops are coming on our head. And if you see the international market, like today Myanmar and this Vietnam, Pakistan, Thailand, they are coming down, and white rice 25% broken, which is the major market from Indian side. They offering very means good prices, good quantities, even in the 100% broken. which is the specific they given like some quota system to Mali, Senegal, and Gambia. So right now these countries are start importing from Pakistan and Myanmar, and right now they are selling on the lower than Indian market prices. So definitely Indian government has to look all the scenario, otherwise Indian market going to be very, very far from other market, and again we have to catch the market. It take little time. So we argue to the government to open this trade as soon as possible, and we are pushing all the departments so we get some good news for the trade. Thank you very much.
Sir, for sure, आपके मुंह में घी, शक्कर और चावल. So that is what industry is waiting for, and you rightly said, sir. Like, we have to be careful that it कहीं बहुत ज़्यादा देर ना हो जाए, because this has been going on for such a long time. And just think, sir, I was talking to some of the exporters in Gulf food, and they said I spent 3 years just to get where I am now having possibility of getting orders. And suddenly government comes and put this restriction. And now I am like, 3 years of all the effort gone in the vain. Now I have to start again from the scratch when government starts. So I believe government has to be also be careful about this thing. And Pakistan gained a lot because of us. That is...
No, I say in between, because right now, if you see, because there is a illegal things also going on, all these things, if you can see the data from last 6 months, how much quantity of organic rice exported from India. I can give you a little bit data. This I have the full data from ministry, even they send me, and from some other departments also. Near about 270,000 ton organic rice exported from India, and where we are claiming 10 to 20,000 ton, maybe we are growing every year. So these the illegal things are going on. Maybe you are aware, or maybe other traders also aware. Right now, 2 vessels are standing in Kandla, which both vessels are 20,000 metric ton organic rice loaded on that, and white rice going for conakry and other thing. So it's better government has to understand, because of stop all these illegal things, though these innocent or very straightforward business people will suffer by this all this kind of practice. So
sir, even for MEP it is happening, right? It is sold at $950, shipped to other countries for $700. Now $250 from Dubai, it moves. We know how it moves. मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहता, लेकिन हो रहा है sir ये चीज भी, like, because you have to compete in global markets.
That's why from last 4 months or 5 months, we are persuading to the government. Last time this Rajesh also there in this meeting, and in the ministry we are talking with Mr. Rajesh Agarwal of this additional secretary. So he agreed that time also, and after that also I met 2-3 times with finance ministry also and commerce ministry, and they always giving the assurance, okay, this very soon we will make it $95 fix. Because we are saying if you make the fixed duty, so there is no issue of any kind of illegality, no under invoicing, over invoicing, and DRI and other departments notices coming to the all traders, and definitely they forced to fix price, and healthy competition is there. If anyone has the good market, they can sell. If they don't have the market, okay, they can do whatsoever, means lower price or without margin or something. So, but right now, this, this where is a very, I say, honest business people, they are sufferer by this duty structure, because other people are under invoicing they are doing, and they are cheaper than $10 to $15 or $20, $25 a ton. But few exporters now got this notices from everywhere, even Kakinada people, everyone get, and there is about 200 crore rupees plus notices are there from DRI and other departments. So we met this CBIC chairman also last time. He assured us if people even they pay the duty, which as per my opinion, which industry is calculating, export duty less export duty, which is not good, correct. They are saying no, there is a duty on duty, which is not correct, because if we see duty must be on the rate of which we sold, including export duty. So definitely in the long run, either court will give some relief or either we have to pay this duty. And industry must understand this and they go straight forward because before going all this hanky-panky. This is my personal opinion from Indian Rice Exporter Federation side. And then peacefully business can do. There is a lot of rice opportunities are there and big markets are coming up. For your information on this platform, I will say this year Nigeria is going to be a very, very big market because they still thinking to open up about export permits, still not started, but soon they are going to start. And this year they are planning about 4 million ton import of the rice. So it's a big market. And other some few origins also there was a shortfall because thank God we have very satisfactory and good rains in India. So Indian crops are very satisfactory and we can achieve big volume. Earlier we are doing about 22 million ton. So if government will open and definitely prices will go up, but government can also keep patience and they're not worried about 34, 35 rupees price. And they will liquidate their stocks and easily we can achieve again 23, 22 million ton exports because our crops are quite very good. Next to you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Very insightful, and I think industry would be taking some sigh of relief with the positive outlook which you have shown. Sood sir, you wanted to intervene and say a little bit on this, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. Speaking out of turn, there are 2 or 3 markers as far as rice exports are concerned. One, we are talking of 4 million tons because exports were 22 earlier, 20 next year, and the restrictions came mid-year. And they were not very serious restrictions, and now 16. So when we talk of free exports, we're talking of 4 million tons. And we're not talking of very large quantity. Second thing is the worry of the government in massive stocks with them will remain because government is the best bidder in some states, like 3,100 rupees in Chhattisgarh and so on. So whatever you might do, the exporter won't get from there. And the government stocks will increase. And as per the WTO norms, those stocks can't be exported. So government has to find some solution for those. Export is not the solution. However, next year's harvest, by my reckoning, is about 7 to 8 million tons more than the 23-24. And if you allow exports straight away from October onwards, maybe there will be parallel channel. There will be purchases for exports and the government pressure can come down a bit. But again, from the earlier wheat panel, government's concern in the Department of Economic Affairs is inflation. The rice prices are up 110% over last year. Last year were up 19% over previous year. So Economic Affairs is bitterly opposed to because rice are 2 markets, not 1 market. FCI and the private. Exports will go from private market. So they will say that you will deplete private market more and either sustain the inflation at that level or increase it. So as traders, we have to answer these concerns on how the rice inflation will be tackled and how it's beneficial for the country for 5-6 million tons more to go out, which is all that is there to it. Thank you.
Perfect. Again, going back to Rajesh bhai. So Rajesh bhai, you have heard Dr. Prem talking very positive development happening. And again, continuing your views on the same, actually, we are seeing challenges of export curtailments. And if and when it happens, it happens. But the apprehension of the government, which they had for the reason they blocked the export. Do you think that this could be a normal trend where actually all the exporters would be worried because such policy changes, they start again, and then what happens if again there is a full stop?
Okay, 2 things before I answer your question. Sood Saab had very categorically mentioned it, that this is a PDS stocks and this cannot be exported under the WTO norms, because in 2002, 3 to 2007, when the government of India, when this is the same NDA government has allowed the exports out of the FCI pool, there was a huge hue and cry globally. And we have faced that heat during that time also. The next government was changed, then UPA government came, they have answered. And finally, some or other of the whole matter in the WTO got settled down. So this stocks which FCI has to liquidate, it cannot be exported directly. So there are ways and wins and outs, which the things will be happening. Second, what Prem sir has said, like Nigeria is coming up as a 4 million ton market. Nigeria is being still fed by India only, wherein through Benin and through other gateways, we have been exporting. I don't feel that 4 million ton will come directly to India, but some or other how we'll be getting some share, like other origins also will be there, and Benin imports will reduce, and parallelly we'll be doing the direct exports to Nigeria. Sood sir, I have a question for you, please, before I answer to Deepak. Sir, is there any barometer to calculate rice into the inflation? Because FCI has been selling for the PDS at 2 rupees, and we as in middle class people have been buying rice from all the from different varieties, which is not being the FCI variety we don't consume. At by and large, we don't consume. We consume the semi-premium basmati rice. Sona Masuri, Swarna, Govind Bhog, Jeera Kasala, all these varieties we consume. So how they calculate that rice has become the most culprit in the inflation side, sir?
Yeah, that is a riddle. Because as you go, even the usual PR11 and those which are there in the shops here, their prices are lower than last year. And as you rightly said, but somehow the government methodology, they got about 300 something centers from where they collect prices. And as an industry, that's why I said, we'll have to tackle these things so long as that number is there, staring in their eye. We'll have to go and talk to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Evaluation, see how they're doing it, and try to rectify it. And it's much like the other errors in estimation government does in various other fields. This too, this is not on purpose. It is because the system itself is faulty. And but then, so long as this is standing out, we should somehow convince the Department of Economic Affairs and this food that that this additional 4 or 5 million tons going away will not create any inflation. At the time of crop, when there's a peak harvest, the exporters will pick up their paddy and it will not go to the FCI, which is a good thing.
Right, sir. Right. Sir, that is what I was mentioning it, because why only rice is being blamed every time for the inflation part. So, and the effect is coming on the ban of the rice.
Yeah,
and last 1.5 years.
Why not wheat? Why not allow import of wheat?
Right,
this is
sir.
Also 9% over last year.
Correct, sir. And last 1.5 years, I think, apart from, see, wheat, we have only few products which can be, one raw material is there, wheat, and then there is a flour consumption, and then confectionery unit. But in rice, we have different varieties. Every 100 kilometers we travel, the variety of the rice changes. And the consumption pattern also changes accordingly. Like South India never used to consume, apart from biryani, they never used to consume basmati. Now, in Andhra, you go to any restaurant, you go in Tamil Nadu, any restaurant, you find the basmati rice is being served on your platter. Now, that is not Sona Masuri which is being served. So, as rightly said Sood sir, I request Sood sir and Deepak bhai to please recommend to CCA committee to correct their old traditional methodology of calculating the price inflation. Now, coming to your question, Deepak bhai. See, the stocks with FCI, I've just shared the sheet to you, which has been updated today in the morning. Comparing to last year, it is 18.3% is in higher stocks with FCI today. New crop is coming. There is an election in Haryana where the procurement will be at huge stake. Then we have a Chhattisgarh, which the government has come because of the paddy prices only. It is not because of the credentials or the work. It is all because of the paddy politics. It is the government has been formed in the Chhattisgarh. So that again is going to be a huge crop for in Chhattisgarh. Then Andhra, again will be facing the similar kind of procurement. The kind of the bulging stocks which is expected in FCI, they don't have that much facility to store. They have already given up a lot of warehouses. They are building up silos, and in silos you cannot store rice. So that is going to be a big call, which government need to take an alarm right now, right here, before the next crop paddy is being delivered to the millers. Otherwise, the procurement will be a single way gateway entry only to the FCI.
No, sure. Actually, in fact, my information is that actually their shortfall, if they do the procurement as planned, is 30 million metric tons of storage they need, which they don't have. So this is an alarming situation. Now I'll go to Nitinji, to you. So Nitinji, if you see that the global numbers, right, that takes up like, there has been increase in production of 535 million metric ton. Global production consumption has also increased, in fact, a little bit more to 531 million metric tons. Global trade has not increased too much, but still that is also increased by 2 million metric ton to 53 million metric ton. And overall, the stock is also high by 5 million. In this scenario, we have seen that there has been a lot of volatility in the global market also for rice. So if you see that rice inflation has been high globally also, and then actually now it is tapered down a little bit, but still we are seeing those challenges and gray areas even globally. So it's just not Indian phenomena, but we have seen that this phenomenon definitely, like, El Nino creates a problem of, like, lack of, but overall production has not decreased, but still there are inflationary pressure. So your views on global outlook?
So thank you, Deepak ji. Thank you so much, and congratulations to the GrainsWorld for creating such a wonderful platform. I think it's a great platform where people can have a global understanding about the commodity, and of course the live updates about all the information which all the industry stalwarts are sharing. So I think kudos to you and the GrainsWorld. So wonderful job. As far as global platform is there, I would like to share a couple of points over there. See, India is the world's second largest producer of rice after China, and is the largest exporter of rice, at least till the time the export ban happened. Even after that, India, I think the rice industry is very, very resilient. As they say that when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So I think the industry has
I would say, so, sir, I would add here, when the going get tough, then the inorganic become organic. Over to you.
Despite all the restrictions, curbs placed by the government of India for obvious reasons, I think industry has done a phenomenal job even after 2022 August, because since then a couple of restrictions have been put in place. But coming back to the global phenomena, see what has happened. India was doing almost 10 million tons of rice exports till 2019. So which was 5 to 6 million tons of non-basmati and 4.5 million tons of basmati. Come 2020, that 10 million ton became 15 million metric ton. Come 2021, that 15 million metric ton became 22 million metric ton. Then there were certain restrictions in the middle of the year, and that 22 reduced to only 20 million tons, only reduction by 2 million tons. And then last year, India was somewhere around between 16 to 17 million metric ton. And the reason were very simple. See, for government of India, there were two challenges. One, to build up the stocks, and second, to beat the inflation. So I think these were clearly two reasons for government of India to impose or put in place all the cups which they have put in rice and in other commodities as well. But the challenge is that even, till a couple of months back, all the global prices were very high, and government of India was very clear that even despite having good stocks, if they start opening up of rice exports, then Indian prices will continue to go up. So that was the reason. Clearly, they were not allowing Indian rice to be moving out of the country in a very open way. So that's how they decided to go in a very controlled environment. Now, there are two things. One, we are talking about rice stocks in isolation. Yes, India at 48.4 million metric ton as on 1st of August is the highest ever stock held by the FCI in the history, right, during this point of time. But if we see in totality, 48.4 plus 28.4 or 5 million metric ton of wheat, that put together somewhere around 78, 79 million metric ton. Whereas if you see 2021, so India was holding more than 100 million ton of stock at the same point of time, right? So in totality at rice plus wheat level, so India is still lower by 20 to 22 million metric ton. And I think wheat is a bigger concern for the government of India. And as in our earlier discussion, some of the grains leaders, they mentioned about that slowly Government of India is targeting to reduce wheat consumption and moving towards more of rice consumption through public distribution system. They have done it to a certain extent from 50-50 ratio to now they have increased it to 65-35 ratio under PDS. But I think that's not going to serve the purpose. So the bigger question is one, whether wheat imports should be opened up or not. And second is, of course, the rice exports. Clearly, if you see in isolation, I think it's a very given thing now because all the global prices have started coming down, as Dr. Prem Garg has mentioned and Rajesh has also mentioned. So prices are coming down. India is completely uncompetitive today as far as white rice or broken rice is there, thanks to parboiled rice, which is still very competitive as compared to Thailand. So India is doing parboiled rice exports. And if we go by even by current year numbers, I think India would be landing at close to 15 to 16 million metric ton of total exports, or even slightly more than that, wherein 5 to 6 million ton is going to be basmati and around 10 million ton is going to be non-basmati, wherein roughly 8 to 9 million metric ton is going to be parboiled rice and between 1.5 to 2 million metric ton would be broken and white rice. So that's a clear-cut scenario. But yes, moving forward, I think most of the origins are experiencing a much better crop this year. So if we talk about Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, all these three countries are experiencing a very good crop. So, and that's where the trends are already becoming bearish. I think the global rice prices, which were at an all-time high in the last couple of years, they are now on a downturn cycle. And I think that trend will continue. That should give more breather for the government. And my understanding is that government is very carefully watching these sowing numbers. And once they are very comfortable, which could be either towards the end of this month or maybe towards the middle of next month, I think they would definitely come up with some relaxation on the export side. So that's my take on the overall global perspective on rice exports.
Perfect. Sir, one more question to you. Like, as you said, like, we had seen some of the supply challenges in Southeast Asia because of El Nino, and now with La Nina coming in, we are finding it the productivity to be expected to be higher, which generally happens in this. So that also means that some of the captive markets, like, specifically which has emerged for India for parboiled rice, that would also get diminished because of like, we becoming a little bit less competitive. Do you see that possibility happening?
Definitely, India is losing ground. See, whatever discussions we had with the buyers across the globe. So today they are finding it really challenging to get rice out of India, especially because of the duty structure, because of the kind of restrictions which Indian government has put in place. So they're not very comfortable having trade with India. They were buying rice from India because India was the cheapest possible source of rice. But today, other origins, especially Myanmar, today is very, very competitive as far as white rice and brokens are there. Vietnamese prices have come down drastically in the last 1 month. So they are finding it more comfortable. And we have experienced that in 2008 to 11. See, before that, India used to be one of the biggest rice exporter, but it took us 7-8 years to come back to those previous levels after the rice export ban between 2008 to 11. And I think we are entering into the similar cycle. So sooner the government realizes this part, I think the better it's going to be for the industry. Because clearly a 5-7 million ton of drop in rice exports is a larger chunk. And once the buyers get tuned and accustomed to other origins rices in terms of their taste and preferences, in terms of logistics comfort, it's very difficult to take back those customers for our country. So I think the government of India and we all should be mindful of that, and we should definitely not lose those customers.
And in fact, Nitinji, I was in Africa very recently. I was traveling across Africa, and because of we are not able to supply, they themselves have started thinking about growing more. Suddenly, there is more awareness about can we grow more rice, and this I all believe like could cut off a lot of market for us, because at the back of the mind, every nation wants their own people to get the food security, right? And if they see these ups and downs, they don't see that reliability in Indian bean origin. Do you think that could also play in the mind of some of the importers?
That is happening, but I think it's a long drawn battle. But yes, definitely it's there. As you are mentioning, in the last 1 week, I think we have got 3 inquiries wherein the West African customers are asking for Indian rice seeds because they want to grow those seeds into their respective countries and want to see whether they can grow that particular varieties in their respective countries or not. So I think that definitely is there in their mind. And of course, inflation is a bigger concern. And with all these geopolitical wars which are happening, I think the freights have gone up drastically. It has gone up by almost 3 times in the last 6 months. So that is definitely a bigger cause of concern even for the customers. So they are really finding it difficult to consume rice, especially the premium varieties of rice, which is parboiled typically for the West African market. So I think that's the reason. Nigeria, we are seeing that what's happening over there. So I mean, there is a civil war over there. Government is really worried about inflation concern over there, and then they are planning to open up imports of multiple agri commodities, not only rice, into those countries. So I think these are the clear-cut indicators that they want to build that food security. But I think it's a long-term battle. It cannot be done overnight. But yes, we should be mindful of that. And as long as we can supply competitive rice into those markets, we are always on a winning edge.
And again, because you handle multiple commodity, Nitinji, we need pulses from Africa, and Africa need Indian rice. Do you see, there could be some way of getting into a definitive agreement so that actually, trade between two continents can increase? Because I was with the High Commissioner of India to Tanzania, and he was saying that forget about these small MOUs. Can you come out with something more strategic for both the continent? Do you think that could be going forward, could be a possibility where we talk about definitive agreement between some of the countries in Eastern Africa, for example, pulses and rice barter, or some comfort to them, or similarly to Western Africa, where actually there is sesame and there is a cashew. So some way where actually they also get comfort that we will be reliable to them.
No, absolutely right. I think it's a very valid point, and I think we recommended the same thing to Food Secretary about last week when we met them, because Mozambique was asking for Indian rice, and unfortunately they couldn't get any quota under G2G. So we recommended that if we can, Government of India can give some quota of 150 to 200,000 tons to Mozambique, and in turn we can make some arrangements of pulses getting imported into country either through G2G or G2P mode. I think that's a wonderful opportunity which Government of India can create that. And of course, India will get a freight advantage also, because this is the time wherein if you are sending containers over there and bringing back pulses into those containers, you can definitely get a bigger advantage on the freight front as well. And similarly to other commodities, I think because India is one country where you have all 15 agroclimatic zones and we grows all these commodities. And a couple of years back, at least, still we were exporting multiple commodities. Now, because of certain reasons, we have certain restrictions are there. But I feel these are all the roadblocks. These are not the dead points. I think with good monsoon in the picture, I think India will open up, or will come up with more relaxation on the curbs which Government of India has put in place. I think there are multiple commodities wherein India can export, import, and do it through an exchange model.
No, actually, as you have mentioned, Mozambique, the Global Grains and Pulses Council, which we are I founded, we had our first success. There were trade issue in pulses in Mozambique, and finally we are thankful to the Honorable Prime Minister. He himself intervened into it, and after that, things have been so far very smooth. So I think this could also one suggestion, because I believe Prime Minister is having very soft comment for Africa. So I believe such agreement come in. If I can also have Premji, if you are around, a small question to you, sir. Premji is here, but I think he's on mute. Okay, so Rajesh bhai, actually, I'll go with a similar question to Garg Sahab. Sir, Garg Sahab, a small question on the cannibalization or canalization of the trade. Sir, we have seen that actually the National Cooperative Export Limited has been very active when it comes to rice. Do you see same pattern continuing, where actually government would like a substantial amount of material moving through them rather than the private trade also being appreciated?
No, you see this NCL, which this export, they are giving to them as a nodal agency for export purpose for any notification they are giving on the request of the foreign countries. So this, if white rice is going to be open, then there is no question about that. But we are thinking, and as per the market scenario, maybe 100% broken. They are still going to be not open OGL basis right now. And this broken is going to be continued like same pattern which they are doing earlier. But only just white rice and parboiled is going to be open, like parboiled already open and any can export. So then in that case, NCL if like to export, they are also one of private trader, they compete the market and they can sell.
But do you think that will be level playing field? Because that a government agency is a government agency with all the information, power,
No,
capabilities.
definitely their power and capabilities are there, and well, private cannot compete with that government people. But definitely we have to fight for our right also as a private people, because we are every private people also want their bread and butter.
And so then we are going to the old school, right? We have MMTC, we have STCs and all that. Then we moved a little bit away from them and we enabled private trade. And past 10 years have been very good for all the private trade. Now suddenly we are seeing that, like, this, do you see that as a change in the mindset of the government, that actually they want to control the export of certain commodities, or it is just because they want to go more G2G? Because they have not been efficient. If you see even the quota being allocated, they have not been able to deliver.
I think Rajesh Paharia will give more light on that, because he's inside the one agency already. So he knows it's better. He will give the comment instead of me. I know inside everything, but I don't want to open from my side. So he want to open, I think, better.
Right. No, sir, I wanted him to I wanted him to give like very, like, diplomatic answer for that, being the part of the system, right? He should be more circumspect. But over to Rajesh bhai as a, like, parting comments. Do you want the government to run business on behalf of the trade industry, or we want the trade to do the trade?
Deepak bhai, I am migrated trade from the government side. So I was major part of my life and my work has been with the private people like Prem and all the people. So I've been migrated to the government sector since last 2.5 years only. So I'll be very honest with the numbers and everything. Like this, with NCL, the export started last year only. Initial 2 to 3 months, like eight months it has been. First 2 to 3 months, it was very difficult for them to understand what is rice, how the things can move, how the things can be formulated. Then the system and SOP was formed, and then the work was allocated. And the first execution, although the first execution took place in the month of October, the shipment was to Mauritius. But real movement started in the month of January onwards. And till date, 898,500 tons has been already exported with the support of NAFED, with the support of IFCO, NCCF, and CRIPCO. So 4 agencies are involved. And 4 agencies, we are not dealing with the rice millers directly. We have been appointing, we have been going through a tendering process, and all the exporters who has been a regular player, they have been supporting, and they are the part of the entire ecosystem. Apart from the rice, there has been an export of wheat, there has been export of cumin seed, and there has been export of onion, and sugar also has been exported by NCL. Cumin seed was out of the ban. That was one normal trade which our honorable minister wanted to do this, and 1 container was shipped out of that.
Perfect. So private traders ka sirf rice mein nahi, baki trade mein bhi you are becoming a big competitor.
No, big competitor is there, but in my opinion, because if trades are open market, then definitely.
Prem, sorry to intervene. There was unquote. There was a review meeting, wherein the next managing director of the company has been asked that next year we have let the company stand and walk. Now you have to run the company. So we all can interpret what our honorable minister has been trying to convey to NCL people, that we have made you stand, we have let you walk, now you have to run.
No, you are right, but this, Rajesh, there is very open things, because this NCL or CRIPCO or NAFED or any these cooperatives, they never take any burden on their head, any losses, market up and down or something, because they always like to work hassle-free or without any risk, where the private traders always will take the risk for market destination risk, export risk, or local market risk. So those things are very, very major. And major thing is that fast making decisions are also there, because private people can take the decisions in minutes, hours, and days. But these cooperatives always take long time, bureaucratic approach and all these things are there. So definitely private trade is open. So definitely we have the upper hand, and private trader will definitely do big way instead of cooperatives. This is my view.
Deepak bhai, bandwidth cannot be matched. Bandwidth cannot be matched. Sitting on this side, I'm declaring.
Thanks a lot for being a nice sport. Like, let's, I believe, like, all of us should do whatever is required to make the trade smoother, make country be seen as a reliable supplier, and at the same time ensure that actually our farmers get good price and the consumer are not actually paying through their nose. Last parting comment to you, Dilip ji. You have heard about, after your numbers, everybody talking policy decision. What is your view on, like, how our policies and the things should be, sir?
I think enough has been said about the policies. Only thing I will say that they have to allow exports, and they have to allow export with a reduced duty rather. I mean, if you see, our prices slightly were outpriced in the export market. I think Pakistan and Vietnam prices, I mean, we are slightly $10 costlier as compared to them. Sorry, Thailand and Pakistan, and our price and Vietnam price more or less the same. And they have to clear the stocks, otherwise a huge crop is coming up. We are looking at the paddy prices on the northern part of India has gone down by 5 rupees a kg. And west and south, who anticipated the market and paddy prices will go down by 3 rupees so as compared to last year. So one side government is increasing the MSPs, but at the same time, unless you have this kind of support, so they should allow the exports immediately so that they clear the stocks, so they're ready for the next harvest. That is what I can say. They should allow exports with a reduced duty. Even 20% duty is working out slightly expensive as compared to Pakistan and Thailand prices.
Excellent. So, sir, we all at least, like, agree as a team that open exports, right? We come all from different backgrounds. I be researcher, Sood sir being a market veteran, Premji, like, industry representative, and we have Rajesh bhai, who has been on the other side of table for quite a long time now. Sir, 2.5 साल बहुत होता है सरकारी बनने के अंदर. and then Dilip bhai from the purely, like, corporate side, we all want rice export to be open. आप कुछ कह रहे थे राजेश जी?
मैं मेंटालिटी वही है सर.
नहीं, आप हमारे ही हैं, चिंता मत कीजिए. We want you to be ours only. You are a great representative of, like, private trade in the government corridors. Thanks a lot, everyone. It was a real pleasure to have all of you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, Dilip bhai.
Deepak
Thank
ji.
you,
So,
Deepak bhai.
We always enjoy interacting with you on this platform.
A vote of thanks to Deepak bhai. Kudos to your.
Yes.
Sir, you have been named as nomad agronomist. And my mentor, Sood Saab, has asked me to say to you this. And sir, I've conveyed your message.
And thank you very much from Indian Rice Exporter Federation side also. And the Indian Rice Exporter, our funda is very clear. Trades must be open for everyone.
Thank you.
नहीं सर, आपके तो बहुत काम करना है. प्रेम जी बहुत काम करना है. We are doing lot of things around, like, working with the government, and wherever we can contribute, more than, like, willing to contribute. Thanks a lot for your time, sir. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Deepak
Thank you
bhai.
very much.
All the best.
Thank you, everyone. So with that, we come to the end of this very exciting session on wheat and rice. And I would request, like, all of you to join again tomorrow for oilseed. We are having 3 interesting sessions there on the soybean, oil palm, as well as sesame and sunflower. Looking forward to your participation, and also looking forward to see you in Dubai. Like, join in numbers and let's represent India and show to the world that Indian agriculture is taking leaps and bounds step forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.